Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was Armageddon. That's all of the talk. That's what I think. That's what I teach here. That was Armageddon. There was the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Then he was loosed, and now we're living in that period. It seems obvious. RJ has just got off the phone. He is in the middle of joining the stream in progress. We'll get going on the tabs I have pulled up, what he wants to share. Let's see, I might as well show the disclaimer. So I am going to be looking at some videos. At least one of them is the Creative Commons. You don't need a copyright. You can just show the whole video because they want the world to know that information should be free. That's what we hope for. That's what we strive for. Free information. Okay, what do you think about that?
Well, free employee. Yeah, that someone might be paying for it, but yeah, who knows?
The Apostle Paul used to make that argument that, I'm here preaching the gospel to you people and another church is supporting me. Do you think that's right? And stuff. There's all kinds of things going on in the world today. We're going to hit a few of them. I've given the disclaimer.
I see that, yep.
Let's see what we could, we have a few emails today. Here's one you sent me, seed oil converts to plastic. Ladies and gentlemen, these, look at this. Look at these petri dishes getting it out there. It's in the ground, it's in the air, it's in the water on purpose, RJ. On purpose. They've done this to us. They're not sorry. They're not sorry there's children missing at the border and stuff. Let's just click in for a second.
And further, you drop weight. So whatever pain you did have in your joints, you're not carrying around so much. So people around me falling, friends, same age, falling to pieces, needing glasses all of a sudden and in pain and all these medical conditions and so forth. I don't even take a pill. I got no pills. People can't believe I don't take any pills.
It's possible. What else did we get in this email stuff? The gruesome war crimes. RJ, what type of humanity are we living in?
What if I told you that some of the most gruesome war crimes in history not only but were actively used
they're they can be difficult to accept facts.
And this was a nation. Satan was in the pit, couldn't deceive the nations for 1,000 years, got out in what I teach is 1711, and the world changed, and all the governments were striving to prove they were the best because the world was ready to attack. The world was ready to expand. All the nations decided, well, we're going to need some more room in the future, so we want your land. It wasn't only Japan. The Nazis did it. The United States did it. The MK Ultra.
It seems odd that everyone was, thinking the same way. Generally, you need some sort of seed, power of suggestion at some point, to have that many, so many involved.
They plant the
and
seed.
this is just the stuff that we know about.
With their propaganda machine, that Edward Bernays, they put it out there, get women to smoke. It's the sign of liberation, it's a.
Yeah, and that guy that I enjoy listening to had a nice one yesterday. I didn't forward that on, but everything that he seemed to be speaking about society, about freedoms. And where are them freedoms? It's more in the evil side, if
Ooh,
anything. You
right.
know, you
Freedom to
got the
be
freedom,
evil.
yeah, to murder your children and whatever that is,
That's
including.
abortion. Yeah.
So if you think, yeah, the
Let's see what
freedoms
weapons they're talking
that
about
you're
here.
fighting for, is it really worth fighting for the freedom of choosing evil? You may want to revisit that thought.
Soon.
Plans to deploy these weapons against the Allies if the war had continued.
The Allied armed forces have been ordered to suspend offensive action. The proclamation of VJ Day must await upon the formal signing of the surrender.
Now, this is something that with a little bit of effort, RJ, would shock the people to know, that I think I have a really good argument that could show there was no boy. The United States saved the day with that atomic bomb from the Oppenheimer and that crew in
Okay.
Los Cruces, New Mexico, and they invented a math and it proved they could do this and that. If it had 97% dark matter, they could do it. So they did it. It's all a lie. We didn't save the world. The world wasn't grateful to us and listened to us and said, because you saved us, we'll use OPEC dollars, petrodollars, yeah, until we use Brit dollars from another
Yeah,
country.
as far as cranking up the fear thermostat, uh, and then the race to space, to the moon, to eternity and beyond. Well, we'll see.
Right. You may have gotten Sputnik up there first, but you can't beat us in baseball or in the Olympics, or let's race, we're better. Here we are living the life. So we got that. I like to show, see
And
if,
then now, for mediocre men's, entering, women's sports is the big deal today. Yeah, the
oh,
nonsense. Yeah, it doesn't quit.
he's talking about the women who dress up like men. And, the question is, there was a thing last summer. Remember, people were out on the street corner, stopping people going like, can you describe a woman to me? And people that, weren't Christians, they were going like, no, I can't. A woman is whatever a man wants to be. Or it was messed up. And it's still kind of confusing.
It
Here's what I
shouldn't be,
study.
but
I usually like to show what I studied. Here's something I was reading this. Every phenomenon bearing upon this could be readily explained by the aid of such an assumption. It was considered unnecessary to prove the actual existence of phlogiston itself directly. You know what? Nobody called oxygen oxygen until about 50, 60 years ago, or maybe 100. They called it phlogiston. Phlogiston. They didn't even know how wood burned. They thought phlogiston was coming out of it, and that's what burned. That's what made the fire. There's a fire material, a sulfur in there. So these dummies that could build all the Erie Canal, Cavendish, remember he's the man that they claimed weighed the world. This guy in the weird theory that led to the discovery of oxygen. It is indeed astonishing that men of such great ability and acumen, given praise as Black and Cavendish, we've all heard of Black's Law and Cavendish, should have so long lain under the yoke of this absurd theory that they, for some reason, when other people were going like, look, it's not phlogiston, it's something else, they dug in, like some people do with other either medical or scientific or literary theories. nowadays. They dig in and say, no, it's got to be like that. Otherwise, nothing we believe is true. Here's one that's highlighted. It says, when this difficulty was stated, which was not until a much later date, a lame explanation of a metaphysical nature and itself contradictory was all that could be offered. It was that phlogiston is endowed with the contrary of gravity or weight, levity, or absolute lightness. The phlogiston, they dug in and said, no, it just actually is anti-gravity, and so it counteracts it because it was it was causing more weight. It ended up oxygen binding to metal was really weird. The company and guaranteed by the state, MEFO bills, the MEFO bills were issued by a state government. So RJ, this is just stream of thought, what I was watching yesterday, because I thought so many people point to, well, look at what Germany did when they all worked together and they did this and that and the other thing. And they could do what we could do it again too. We could raise ourselves up by our bootstraps. The MEFO, how they financed, was kept secret until the 1990s. And they did it by fiat currency, a parallel currency issued by a private company and guaranteed by the state. So everybody was wondering, how could Hitler have done it? I mean, that's when they get that. And he was praising Hitler. He said he built the Autobahns and he did this and that from the rubble with fiat money on credit, knowing it wasn't going to last. And it was financed by the United States and Switzerland and stuff.
Yep.
We got some side by side. Looks like we're going to be studying.
And I think there was a Bush character involved in that.
Prescott Bush. Yes. For entertainment purposes only. So I guess I'm caught up with the pictures. So now we can move to some and see what we were going to be talking about. Hola, Sergio, Luthier, and Sven. That's my when I was working the concrete, when I was in the at the Bible college in the 1980s, I worked for a man named Lars Svensson. He inherited, he had bought a company from his father-in-law called Ned Construction. The hardest working man I've ever seen in my life. Older than me today, he would be swinging, a sledgehammer to break concrete, do it. He would work side by side with me, and I was like in my mid-20s. The most amazing man. He just told me about this one. He used to have this one hammer he called Monday. Go get Monday. I go, oh, crap, Finally, one day I asked him, I said, how come you call this sledgehammer Monday? And he goes, it makes every day feel like a Monday. Because it was a bitch. Lars Svensson.
Yeah.
What a guy.
That's quite the perspective, yeah.
Yeah. He had a friend, Bobby Gamble. He was a shirt connection to the Church of Christian Liberty, and one of their elders, the Dr. Robert Gamble, heart surgeon. He got into School of Engineering there in Milwaukee because Lars, he asked for a letter of reference from him, and Lars wrote it in hand. He didn't type it, and the people that were on the board said, wow, this is so cool. He wrote it by hand. Let's accept Bobby into it, because he was, borderline whether his grades would allow him in there. Not Dwayne the Rock Johnson versus Monsanto. I just like people to know that glyphosate from the very beginning, Monsanto, Bayer Corporation, I think they were proven to knowingly sell HIV tainted blood in France because they got busted and they couldn't sell it in the United States, but they didn't want to lose that money. Initially given a 289 million punitive damages against Monsanto, 2017. It got lowered in 2018. He's dead now. I don't know if he ever got any money, but he proved that from the very beginning, there's no doubt that they knew there's a lot of weird cancers that are new, and they have traced them. Roundup, Monsanto, although they still deny it to the point of where even after, because they've got lawyers and they'll
Well,
fight.
yeah,
They'll
and it
fight.
has a lot to do with in the end, liability or lack thereof. Like with the jabs, where they
So
waive
they still have it.
liability.
It's been reversed now to having possible human cancer causing, but now it's like not classified as a human. This thing, they are fighting it. Monsanto will not
Oh,
give up. They are going to
absolutely.
fight this tooth and nail. Their first product was called saccharin. It was a fake poison made out of coal.
Magical food came from? And the answer was coal tar. Once found, this understandably drew a lot of criticism, particularly from the United States Department.
Yeah, and let it wash over you people. You see where the Department of Agricultural Chemist was back in 1901. It's a Mudflood building. They didn't build it. It was there for a long time, which means, yes, the Native Americans probably saw it and probably lived in it. We took it from them, and everything's been covered up. Our history is leaving that part out. Everything's a lie. This world shouldn't, the pictures we see shouldn't exist. There shouldn't be the Erie Canal with its Roman-styled aqueducts and its bridges that are built in the Roman style in 1815 to 1825. That's impossible. So this all has to wash over. You can't be one click at a time. I'm only studying Monsanto. Monsanto is bad, but it's not that bad because they're going to try to prove the commies want us to think that Monsanto killed the earth, but it didn't, because climate change is all about not being humans' fault. Well, shit, we poisoned the ground. It's not going to work. There's forever chemicals. They will always be killing our children. And there's only about 22 more years left of this world. So they don't give a rat's ass, RJ.
That liability. I don't know if you caught that yesterday. That Colorado baker, after a dozen years of in and out of court, it finally was settled. And,
Was this the baker that would not?
Yeah, he doesn't.
date
Yeah,
for
he's
the
not
homosexual couple?
forced. Yeah, now that you can't force him to do what he doesn't want to do. I was curious, and I didn't say, who gets to, pay for that price tag of taking it 12 years of litigation of, dragging them through the system. I mean, he won,
Yeah.
but it didn't say how, that not only took a significant amount of time, but it also represents a major portion of ka-ching.
Exactly. And
Time is
Monsanto,
money.
those people have dedicated lawyers that I guess are pretty darn good at what they do.
Well,
Drags it out.
you can't afford that, and I mean, and there's all sorts of them in the court system, but and I do the monthly, donation of who represent them. That it used to be Alliance Defending Freedom or whatever. They changed their name there, I don't know, a while back, but whatever. I just, being that it was yesterday, and the Monsanto or Bayer purchased Monsanto, and and the liabilities that went with whatever happened in the past, right?
Durability and adaptability. But as with everything concerning Monsanto, there was a hidden evil lurking in the shadows. PCBs have terrible effects on the environment and human health. Research from the 70s connects PCBs to cancer and other major health problems, including reproductive impairment and immune system dysfunctions. Production was finally banned in the United States in 1979 and internationally in 2001. But the damage was done.
They think the damage is done, RJ.
Yeah, the needle and the damage
Countering
done.
any research
I
suggesting
don't think they
glyphosate
care.
might cause cancer. Not satisfied with that, they took it further. Monsanto invested millions in lobbying legislators in the US and Europe to keep glyphosate on the market. The glyphosate sector alone is worth 1 billion euros in Europe, so the stakes were quite high. In an attempt to undermine the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, which had the courage to declare glyphosate to be probably carcinogenic to humans in 2015, Monsanto went all out. In an effort to change public perception and preserve the reputation of their product, they funded research that
Oh, I guess we should believe that they have the power to change public perception, RJ.
And change the world. Yeah.
By a kind of shell company, and these bills worth around 12 or 13 billion Reichsmark
was still alive. So what they did not knew at that time was how to finance the rearmament strategy.
How could they rearm without any other countries noticing? Well, they tried to mask it using financial and monetary strategies. Schacht helped with this masking, and that's probably the most important role he held under the Third Reich.
He's
The
a
devil's
secret
banker
banker.
created an incredibly ingenious system. A kind of parallel currency issued by a private company and guaranteed by the state. MEFO bills.
The MEFO bills were issued by a kind of shell company, and these bills, worth around 12 or 13 billion Reichsmarks, were used to pay the manufacturers and companies that participated in the rearmament. That was how they got paid.
The MEFO bills attracted investors because they earned interest. Everyone wanted them, and the state's coffers started to fill. As a result, the Reich could pay for the manufacture of armored vehicles, weapons, and munitions. The irony of this story is that even the big American industrialists invested in Germany, like
I wonder why that's ironic. I mean, the United States was founded, the first country ever that says in its constitution, we're here to make money. You know, we're going to set up this type of government, and our government is going to make money. We're going to, it's going to pay the taxes. We'll pay the people. It's going to pay for itself. And
Share the love.
It's a new style. It's going to be good.
General Motors and Prescott Bush, the father of a future American president.
General Motors and Prescott Bush. His wife looks so happy.
Schacht made sure that this money was used only for rearmament, for industry, and for the...
Way to go, Trump. Who are you?
Hated by the other Nazi leaders and was pushed towards the exit. So Schacht decided to play his trump card. He went to Bavaria during the summer of 1937 to convince Hitler, who was staying in his summer residence.
Wow, that's convenient.
Hitler and Schacht met at Berchtesgaden, and Schacht told him clearly.
So clearly he had his own, his own little Federal Reserve Bank. Somebody set it up. Somebody made it work for him, and they get the money. We can't you stay all day on that.
Yeah.
What do you think of that so far? I mean,
well, yeah, if you want to copy what was being done in America, like most of them attempted, if you can just create it out of thin air and spread it around
man. You invent money, pass it around, and people today, like Static in the Attic and other people who used to be flat earthers in millennial age past and stuff like that are now into, why can't we be more like the Nazis, man? They made it work, and that's white power. They're holding us back.
Force the citizens to pay the interest on, money that they just pulled out of their,
what?
Bottom side.
Have you ever heard of a screaming Mimi?
I may have.
This is rockets. See, because
Catchy
with
little
all that
beat.
armament money, with all of the armament money that the one centralized fiat money banker that financed, so that people could look back now and say, why can't we be more like Germany? They did it. They were small. Rocket power, because they couldn't do artillery. They had to do rockets. And you mentioned it earlier, the NASA, the Werner von Braun, the Dr. Werner von Braun got the whole rocket thing going, took them to the moon, they say. It all started because of the restrictions put on them, and those clever Germans worked
He was
around
a
and
buddy
we
with
can't
that
have
Walter dude.
artillery. We'll make a screaming Mimi.
That Walter dude.
Particular weapon was developed very late in the war and is one in a long line of previous developments. We have a lot of history to go over before we even get to this example, so buckle in. Now, the development of German rocket artillery in the interwar period was sparked by a number of major factors, the main one being the 1919 Treaty of Versailles, which banned Germany from developing long-range
artillery. And so they got the rocket power.
As a result, Nebelwerfer were typically deployed in batteries of around 6 to 12 launchers to completely saturate an area with explosives. Now, these rockets made an ungodly noise as they flew, leading to the Allies nicknaming them Screaming Mimi or Moaning Minnie.
That's the moan. I thought you'd want to hear that.
This could launch 6, 28, or 32 centimeter Werfkoffer rockets.
So, if we're wondering how in World War II, World War I, they could destroy all the buildings and just leave them in rubble with rockets.
II also had a heavier 10 kilogram or 22-pound warhead and a greater range of 7,850 meters or 25,750 feet. Now, to launch this new rocket, the Germans developed the Nebelwerfer 42, which was nearly identical to the Nebelwerfer 41.
They did this. They found machines that could blow up the towns, and everybody was happy.
The Waffen-SS developed the 8-centimeter Raketenwillachtwerfer, which was
that battering ram thing.
It's like a battering ram. It turned down, man. and then they took it to the moon. I'm going to be going over these charts sometime. I mean, RJ, we've talked about this. We gotta break it down. We got to go and teach them how to read a book. Matthew 24 for the dispensationalists, it has a number of verses that say, well, the first half of this verse was meant for them, but the second half of the verse was meant for the Jewish people 2,000 years later. Okay, that's stupid. That's not how anybody ever writes a book. Especially when they're talking about, hey, Titus, I'm writing a book to you to
warn you. But it's in code. You have to crack the code.
You got to crack the code. Those code breakers in the World War II. I looked up the MEFO bills. All right, we got MEFO bills looked up. Why am I still looking up? Oh, I wanted to get some pictures of the MEF coin. Yeah, I didn't really find any good ones, so we got just a brief introduction. It's just named after a metallurgical research corporation in Germany. That's MEFO. It's just a promissory note. It's fiat money, man, and that's how they did their program of rearmament. And thanks to the Bushes and thanks to everybody else, you're only going to be able to prop yourself up as, like, wasn't Hitler Time Magazine's Man of the Year twice? Yes, he was. They loved him in America. They loved him around the world because he was rebuilding with fiat money and not telling anybody. They were all going like, if he can do it, why can't we?
Sounds reasonable.
The dummy company was set up around the time the United States was setting up a whole new system of, I don't want to talk bad about the United States of America. Wait, we do all the time. But anyway, we're keeping it short to see what we got over. We're not done. Empress Mian, later named Mia Song, a wind of an angel or something like that, aristocratic, chosen de facto regent to marry his son, the future king. He died. She ruled from 1873 to her assassination. Now that's crazy when you hear, you know, people from Korea said this woman is out of control, and they went there on a suicide mission and killed her. They couldn't stand. They said this girl's got to go. She's been ruling this country, Japan, for so long, and it's just messing up Korea. We got to go kill her. Isn't that weird? They found this city, and she, I guess, set up her headquarters and said, I'm the queen. And it worked for a while. And then another country just sent assassins to kill her.
Changing of the guard.
Yeah. And it's a real person. She's got coins. Never heard of her before. And there's her funeral. They got, of course, part of the funeral is big horse dummies that you need to bring to the funeral. I don't get it, but culture. So anyway, it's a part of history I haven't heard about, but they sure had their rituals and everything in the 1800s up until the late 1800s, when Korea decided we got to go kill this girl, because wow. And dowager queens, China had a dowager queen, which basically means you have women and children ruling over you, because the dowager, the mother of the crown prince who will be the king someday, is in charge until he's 21. And then usually they find ways that, they remain de facto in power. And that's what happened with her. She was just de factoed in power. Women and children ruling over us. We're moving on. Hey, Brian Flanagan. Common name, right? Attended Columbia University. He was a member of Students for Democratic Society. He studied philosophy, economics at Columbia. He was just an average student because he was busy protesting the war with the Weather Underground. Got involved with Days of Rage that yesterday we had an anniversary.
Your birthday?
He was accused of stomping somebody in the face until he was paralyzed and in the wheelchair for the rest of his life. He got cleared and was able to end up being, a teacher. He was in the Weather Underground. You heard about them?
I have.
There was a militant Marxist, communist, far left Marxist communist, which I don't have a problem with. However anybody wants to make money or, their economy. I don't think people should be killed for being communist or capitalist or anything in between. But the Weather Underground were really mad at the capitalism part of it in the United States beginning in 1970. Remember, that was they stop with the fact that LSD is helping people and it's the power of love. All of a sudden, the hippies are bad. They're all like Charlie Manson. They're going to kill you and listen to the Beatles. Okay. So who was involved in this? Well, Bill Ayers. He was married to Bernadette Dorn. That's his wife. Well, they're both retired professors. They went on from their far left communist anarchy to select Barack Obama to be the president. Did you know that when he was going to school where these two?
Yeah, and I
Go ahead.
believe that organization, didn't they take credit for that bombing
Murder?
of a building there on campus in Madtown?
No, a number. Yeah. One of them was a statue from the Haymaker riot, uh, honoring a cop who lost his life or something. And I'm a big defund the cops, and defund everything. I just think they're wasting our money. But I'm not just for every man doing what's right in his own eyes, I guess.
Every man for himself. Yeah.
The Weather Underground. So we have these militias today. Those guys that stormed the Capitol on the 6th. They're militias and stuff, and they're in jail. These guys didn't really do a lot of. They were on the run for a while, but then they got brought
Well, they
back
didn't have
in.
the CIA on their side or in their back pocket or whatever.
Yeah, first the FBI described the Weather Underground organization as a domestic terrorist group, like the ones that that's a picture of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building that was supposedly done by Timothy McVeigh because he was mad about abortion and Waco and stuff like that. It had revolutionary positions like Black Power. They're commies. Timothy Leary, American psychologist, strong advocacy for psychedelic drugs, and then all of a sudden he's bad. He's a hippie. He's a killer. He did okay. He made the Chicago 7. That was a big news when we were young, But all of these people, it seemed like they landed on their feet. And later, Bernadette Dorn, Nee Ornstein, retired professor, former leader of the far left, but still, I get a pretty good pension from being a retired law professor, I would imagine. Didn't really, married Bill Ayers, the co-founder.
Yeah,
Not a lot of, no mention here. How do we know? Because we heard and we studied that while at the University Law School, a young Barack Obama with a proven birth record, not certificate, but a proof of birth thing, they ended up with, these guys might pick on you someday for being a bisexual, pothead from Hawaii, but we think you're excellent presidential material. I'm being sarcastic there.
Oh, you mean due to genetics?
Something. Anyway, there's that's the picture when the girl that chose the future president said, "You're our guy." When she was one of America's top 10 most wanted, like a John Dillinger. Sexy, right? With that black leather. But it's still rocking it, Bernadette. Bernadette. There was that song by the Four Tops, Bernadette. That was a good one.
Yep.
Mayor Daley ordered them to attack. So basically, we're at the point where RJ, everything about this life and everything about what we know is given to us by God. The main gist of this show and us has always been like, wow, it's a lot of responsibility to know that Armageddon's over. We just have to be patient, day, talk about it. That's what we do. Drop in the Japanese learned to torture on prisoners. America learned to torture on prisoners. Dang, Heinrich Himmler and all those guys learned to torture on, and then we let them go and brought them over here to teach us how to build rockets. We're not wrong on this. The fact
it's
is,
even beyond the torture. I mean, experimental stuff that they were just doing bizarre, and
With the twins
recording
and
it, and then that information, to barter uh the sentencing to nothing.
yeah, right.
There's nothing to see here other than what's been logged in the data, and we'll take that
Yeah.
in exchange. You can walk away. uh okay.
He is talking, folks, that the United States made a deal and said, all of you people who did the equivalent of the torture experience of Dr. Mengele on the twins and the pain and what can they survive. America wanted that information so bad, they pardoned all those people and just said, yeah, it's good. And they
It's
stayed,
worth it.
they worked, for Sony, Sanyo, Toyota, just like in the United States. The Operation Paperclip didn't only involve rocket scientists, it involved bankers, presidents of universities, lawyers. And it wasn't just that they brought them to the United States, it was a draft pick. People were picking the German scientists who knew about rockets because we were all going to fake go to the moon. It's all one big lie. The same lie.
Yeah, there was more negotiating than just the mess of press thing, and how to do a big time assembly.
Officially ruled self-inflicted. However,
Oh,
many,
yeah.
including Olson's family, believe he was murdered by the CIA because he knew too much about the agency's illegal activities. His death remains shrouded in mystery and serves as a stark reminder of the personal toll these secret programs took on those involved.
You know how many laws have been passed, RJ, that the American citizen has demanded the truth, and Congress responded, yes, we will release every redacted document surrounding the JFK conspiracy. And how many documents are still retracted? 35,000. And they haven't let them out yet.
It's still a compromise. Yeah.
Because the Warren Commission is a joke. The United States being the light of the world is a joke. The fact that it was a Christian nation is a joke. It was founded to make money. There is not a good nation on the world. All of the nations, all of the people of those nations are like you, me. We're either forgiven or not. We've either are going to be the people on the narrow road that expose to the world you're living a lie and willing to die for that, or we're part of the people that will be living a die that will say, I am tired of these people telling me there's a hell and I might go to it. Let's just get rid of them. That's what's coming. That's what the Bible teaches. There is no of this reconstruction. America's going to elect Trump and pull itself up by the bootstraps, and we'll show them all that, we're the ones who saved the world from the everything bad with our atomic bomb. It's all a lie.
Yeah, when nations, kingdoms, whatever, it is the collection of the citizens, in those societies that determine, in a way, how what they're thinking, whatever, and then their actions kind of prove what they're into.
Sure.
And what's going on here, I mean, it's such a contrast between those that with their motives and intentions are trying to do the right thing, but with limited choices, and then you have the controllers that are pulling the strings on the puppets that represent, a whole different way of thinking. I guess, it's just pure evil. That Yeah, it's a struggle. Uh, it's makes things very difficult, and yeah, if you're at an age where you're raising a family or thinking about doing that, oh yeah, it seems like it's impossible.
Everything's
You know,
against you. Everything's against you. Buying a house, renting a good apartment, having a
uh,
stable job.
yeah, finding a cash flow that going to be where you're compensated for your time and efforts, and then doing it legitimately. If you're working for the military industrial complex, putting together bombs that are, yeah, maybe it does put some currency in your account, but you know, it's all self-destructive, in the end. Yeah, yeah, some of the choices that you're forced into participating in, uh, it's
It's all going to come back. We're going to be able to tie it up. Am I sharing now? Are you seeing the
yep,
picture of the steampunk king
yep,
killed in the French Revolution? And this is, where he
nice,
worked.
a nice shed there, yeah.
Nice science department, I'm sure. This is Lavoisier. He's the man that discovered, a lot of things, man, and I think he was one of those Freemasons or whatever that was given the information, because it's like all right out of the early 1700s where these people all of a sudden they proved everything, and they proved how, wow, it's not philostrum. Let's get oxygen. And he's famous for doing experiments. Like one of his most famous experiments, here it is right here. Wow, it's big picture. But what he's doing is he is using a series of mirrors, big mirrors, he sealed wood in a glass jar, and he weighed it. Look at those steampunk glasses. This was the coolest dude going. And then he found out that, since all of the smoke was sealed in the glass, it weighed the same. And he just realized that, it's the wood burning, it's the water vapor. He extrapolated a lot from this.
So he's got lenses aimed at the sun. Is this how he's?
Yeah, he can direct it and keep it in line, because I mean, even this is a pretty fancy, one mounted thing, and then the rest of it spins and follows the sun. Got it heated up enough to catch wood on fire and turn it to ash, and it weighed the same if it happens in a vacuum, because you have one set of wood. Anyway, he proved a lot. But people still fought him and said, no, we don't have to believe him. They wanted to hold on to their germ theory, or, theories, or their gravity theories that can't be proven, but in their mind, they can do a trick here, a trick there, and take the average common person and say, ta-da, I just pulled a coin out of your ear. Look, there it is, man. And the vast majority of the people will just keep doing the curly shuffle of like, wow,
Yeah,
you pulled a dollar out of my
more
ear.
encore. Yeah,
We could be rich, because not many called on the narrow road are those that are the ones that are going to be, super wise, because the super wise of the world can make money scamming, live off other people, and it's an easier way for them. So
Sure.
we have a Bible. It is the truth. Tonight we're going to go over Matthew 24, whatever the Lord provides us. When I didn't do a show on my birthday, second year in a row, I didn't do a blonde strength test to show people, look, I'm this age and I can still do 3.5 pull-ups. Darn, I want to do 4 so bad, but it always hurts so bad for a couple of days after you even do 3.5. But I'm fit. I'm ready. I'm ready for this fight. Whatever, it happens. But the idea is the spectacle. We don't get caught up we decode the spectacle. The spectacle of this hurricane. Are they steering it? Are they not? Seems to me, obviously, they are. I can say that because I'm a cult leader. I don't have to worry about my reputation.
Not only steering it, but adjusting its intensity seems
in
to
real
be,
time. Yeah, it seems like in real time. And this is a spectacle. The weather channels now, have 50,000, 100,000 people watching at one time of like, ooh, is it going to destroy Tampa Bay because Bill Gates wanted a 15-minute city? Kind of looks like it. It's a spectacle. We don't get into like, oh no, how did this happen? We know. Or you don't.
Well, yeah, you should be aware, but depending how you're wearing this veil thing, who knows?
Well, with that in mind, I'm considering this, RJ. I'm thinking about making a video for this one class because we're going to be moving into the canal era of our history. And the canal history, from like my first 4 videos proved everything. It's the Erie Canal. Look, we dug it out. We found it. We couldn't do that. We couldn't build those buildings today, yet they could clean it out and use it. And they did. It's evident if you can get somebody to sit down and show them. That's a Greek-style aqueduct that is still here 300 years later because they can't tear it down.
Yeah, similar to what was there around Niagara,
Exactly. And they're everywhere. And now thousands of people around the world are doing Mudflood videos saying, like starting with how we broke in Michelle Gibson when she just didn't have anybody listening to her, pretended to be a Christian. We fed her all of how they did the canals and everything else. And it's just, they're going to win. The bad guys are going to think they're winning. They're going to eventually think it's time to go rub them all out. Let's go encompass them about and find them. They've been living on their own. They're a hassle. We'll be encompassed about. We'll be rescued by fire, and then we'll be judged in the great white throne of judgment. The Bible in order is good to go. Read it like a book, like it was a letter written to those people instead of you.
Yeah.
RJ, wrap it up. We're going to get out of here. Can't say any more this morning.
Well, how people perceive like what you were explaining to be interpreted. Yeah, it changes. Yeah, the whole timeline.
That's what we wanted to focus on. Your
We are in
timeline's messed
biblical
up,
time.
people. The Bible timeline works. The argument that Mudflood was Armageddon and the 1,000 years are over proves that Jesus is not a liar. He knew what he was talking about. Those people were not left to think, wow, everybody else died and nobody made it. It's just getting worse. That didn't happen. That's a lie. That's a cover up. Where are they covering up? Right here on this flat earth nation. One God. Has the mud flood happened? Obviously. That means the 1,000-year reign has happened. It's over. Satan's loosed. Here we go. We're never going to tell you anything else. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. And goodbye.
Stay safe.